All right, I'll start again. Let me call to order the January 8, 2020 meeting, Committee of the Whole meeting of Pottstown Borough Council. If you would rise for an invocation, followed by a pledge to the flag. Dear God, please grant this council the knowledge, the wisdom, and the courage to do what's best for our town. Carry us through another year. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, number 3 is our little presentation to Catherine Minato. Recognizing Catherine B. Minato for 39 years of dedicated service to the Borough of Pottstown. Whereas Catherine B. Minato has served the Borough of Pottstown as a dedicated employee since 1980. And whereas during her career with the Borough she served in a number of different capacities, including Finance Department Clerk 1, Utility Clerk 4, Accounts Clerk 2, Payroll. And whereas for the past 24 years, Kathy has worked in the position of Finance Department Accounts Clerk 1, and during that time she served our residents regarding water, sewer, and trash billing concerns, water service shutoffs, and water distribution concerns, parking permits, taxes, licensing and inspection fees, in order that residents should receive the best level of customer service possible. And whereas Kathy's presence at Borough Hall will be truly missed by the people that have worked with her. Now, therefore, be it and it is hereby resolved by the Mayor and Town Council that Catherine B. Minato is officially recognized for the outstanding service she has provided the Borough of Pottstown through 39 years of employment, and further that she is extended best wishes for a happy and well-deserved retirement. Adopted at Pottstown Borough Hall, 100 East High Street, this 8th day of January 2020. Signed by Dan Weand, Council President, and Justin M. Keller, Borough Manager.
Stay there, don't you have love? Oh, that's all.
And now we have a presentation for Officer David A. Mull, retiree, and Officer Gregory E. Fritz, retiree. Chief.
It's my distinct honor and privilege to award you with this honorable discharge to Officer Gregory Fritz, who was honorably discharged from the Pottstown Police Department on the 25th day of December 2019. This certificate is awarded as a testimonial of 30 years of honest and faithful service. Signed by myself and Chief of Police. March 14th, 1989 to December 25th, 2019. It is my distinct honor and privilege to present you with this honorable discharge to Detective David Mull, who was honorably discharged from the Pottstown Police Department on the 31st day of December 2019. This certificate is awarded as a testimonial of 30 years of honest and faithful service. Signed by myself as mayor and chief. And your service is from September 14th, 1989 to December 31st, 2019. Congratulations and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Great service.
Gentlemen, thank you for your service, and I wish you both the best on this next chapter in your life.
Thank you. Okay, next, let us hear from Don Gulick about the Pottstown Bike Race. Welcome. Yes.
Good evening and Happy New Year. You have in front of you two documents that reflect the plans for this year's bike race. As you know, we have hosted the bike race in the month of July in the past years, and we've encountered a number of issues with USA Cycling. Nothing to do with the borough, no issues in terms of, we would have stayed in a July date, but because of national championships on both the track and the road for junior elites and masters racers, we would have just had too much to deal with when losing riders to the event. So we looked for other dates. Ideally, our best date would have been the last weekend of July, or excuse me, last weekend of June. But I know better than to come before you and ask you to compete with the weekend of the Rumble. So we moved further forward again. So we ended up looking at June 6th. That was the date that June 7th. That was the date that we put our original permit in for. It was a Sunday. We did a release on the first of the year for Save the Date to everyone, and within hours got back an email of a conflict with something that was not on our radar. So we scrambled, spent about 4.5 hours on the phone with a bunch of people trying to just play well in the sandbox here. You know how it is. And you can't please everyone, but we're trying to do the best we can to keep as many people happy as possible and not conflict with other events, because we know how hard it is to put on an event. Long story short, we're going to move to a Saturday. We have some reservations, not on part of the borough or anything like that, but just on because of the way cycling is and some other events that might be a problem, being rescheduled from Friday night to Saturday up at the Velodrome if it were to rain Friday night. But you know what? We can't control weather, and we're just going to go for the gusto here. We think it might do well for the town to have a Saturday event, having people stick around a little bit more. The beer garden being open, maybe people kind of hang out and be a little more festive on a Saturday afternoon into evening than on a Sunday and have to go to work the next day. Trying to see the positive in it. We'll do just like we did last year when we changed the course, is we'll do our best to make the best of it. And so I gave you those flyers because the PDF that you received with the permit had the date of the 7th, and I wanted to make sure that we were very clear as to what the date was that we were requesting. All right, so it is 6/6 2020. All right?
Okay.
Other than that, nothing else is different. You know, in terms of the course, police involvement, ambulance, Omega will be the traffic folks, and we're good to go. All right? I left my contact information there. And I also gave you a sponsor sheet that has sponsor information on one side, which we're always open to any suggestions you have, any businesses that might ever talk to you about the race and is interested in sponsorship. It costs us over $10,000 to put this race on, so we always need help. But the flip side actually gives you some metrics on the race, just the statistics of what has gone on over the past few years and how we have grown it and what our goals are for this year. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we start with the official business of the borough, I want to do a little presentation, or at least a good thank you. On the front page of the business section of the Pottstown Mercury, Sunday, December 29, 2019, all I can say from the calls that followed that, coming into my house saying how great it was, I want to say thank you to Evan Brandt. I've gotten more positive calls about your article on this particular piece than anything else in the past. And I can tell you, I've been journeying around Montgomery County the last few weeks, and people all over the county have seen this, read this, looked at it online, shared it with whatever social media. And the headline, "Business Began Booming in Pottstown in 2019." If you haven't read it, please find a copy of it somewhere or look online. It's a phenomenal piece, and I want to thank you, Evan. Okay. Next. I see our newly elected councilors came back for round 2. That's encouraging. Should have a good year ahead of us.
That's because the last meeting was only like a half hour.
Oh. This one might go a little longer. Might. All right, under subcommittee reports, anything from infrastructure? Okay, nothing. Economic development, Ms. Lee Clark?
Yeah, she'll be here on Monday.
On Monday?
To give her report.
All right. Transportation, anything on that? Nothing. Ordinance Review Committee?
No, this will be.
Nothing. Okay. Efficient Methods Committee, Councilor.
No meeting.
Vice President Lebedinsky.
No meeting.
Okay. Under Boards, Emergency Services Report. Chief Hand?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So my report for this month is going to be a little bit shorter just because it's the end of the year and I'm still gathering all the data for 2019 to present to everyone. But in December, obviously we had a busy month. Santa Claus took a lot of our time up through the borough and different things there. So, you know, I hope he's back at the North Pole. That was a lot of work. But, we had 86 calls for service on the fire side. From 2 house fires, we had $125,000 worth of damage, which was pretty high for a monthly total. In 2019, the fire department went to 1,069 calls, and we had $580,000 worth of damage from 12 building fires. And we'll have a breakdown of everything that went on there. So, but the other side of that is the EMS side that we're kind of responsible for, not the borough itself, but emergency services. They did 353 calls last month for a total in the borough of 3,959, which meant that emergency services were on the street 13 times a day in 2019. So something to think about when we're doing that. So I get to have some fun now, Dan.
Okay.
So everybody got an award tonight, so it's your turn. Can you come on up, please? You don't usually hear from me, so I see your face is shocked. So tonight, I have the privilege of giving 2 certificates to the council president for completing incident management training. And this is designed for responders, council people, private schools, hospitals, that everybody speaks on the same language when there's a disaster or an emergency. And it also helps us to prepare by taking some of these classes and Dan completed this, and your leadership hopefully will spread out to some more. So,
We'll make the others do it.
but thank you so much. Here's your 2 certificates for completing these programs. These are online programs. I forget how long they last. The first 2, maybe 3-4 hours of training, but you do it independent, and it's a great start that somebody is looking out for the borough by being in a leadership position to make sure that everyone underneath him is meeting the needs of the borough too. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can go back to your seat.
I thought it was going to. And I'll just add that all elected officials, all councilors are required to get this training so that we can be prepared in the event of an emergency. So if you need us to resend any of those links to get started on the training, please reach out to myself or Ginny and we'll get you set up.
Okay. B, Human Relations Commission, Ms. Levigood.
Good evening, councilors, council president, and Madam Mayor. National Religious Freedom Day is on January the 16th. As a presidential proclamation, this commemorates the adoption of Thomas Jefferson's Virginia statute, which became the basis for the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution that led to freedom of religion for all Americans. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January the 20th to celebrate the life and achievements of the influential and American civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. At the December Commission's meeting, the imam from the mosque in Pottstown led a discussion about the religion of Islam. It was an excellent learning experience for the commissioners and all the attendees. Councilor Lindsay was there, also Commissioner and now Councilor Vanney was also there, and also Chief Markovich also attended it too. They were just some of the other attendees. We have people from the public that attended it too. The Commission's January meeting will be held on Thursday, January the 16th, 2020, at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers, and all are welcome to attend.
Very good. Thank you. Land Bank, Ms. Penrod, are you here?
There you are.
Apologies, I missed the December meeting. Land Bank, our Christmas Eve meeting was canceled. Our next meeting is January 27th. I urge any and all interested parties to come out. Anyone of our new members who are not familiar with the Land Bank, please let me give you 5, 10, or 15 minutes on what the Land Bank is. If you don't call me, I will call you. We have no endpoints to report yet, but we're making progress. They're sort of steps to establish our education, our connections, our institutional knowledge. We had breakfast sponsored by the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania on December 5th in Norristown with a whole bunch of people in the housing business, including Genesis from Pottstown and many other participants. Very enlightening for me. And we also met with the Montgomery County Treasurer the following week on December 10th. It's sort of a mutual education. They don't know much about land banks, and we didn't have a whole lot of idea of how the county could be supporting our process. So there is, no one thinks it's moving any slower than I think it's moving, but we're making progress. That's it for land bank.
Okay. How about the library?
Library. We have a new executive director, Holly Chang, effective December 23rd. Holly's been with the library for most of the last 20 years, and most of you probably know her. She'll be making the rounds of meeting and greeting everyone in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Hello again to the new council people. If you haven't had an indoctrination in the library, I'm going to call you, so you might as well call me first. It's a great place, and I think that you'll understand how valuable the borough's contribution is to both the financial and moral support of the library. We have hosted a census recruiter 3 separate days in the last month, which fills an important need for getting temporary part-time workers $20 to $27 an hour to go out and get people to participate in the census. The recruiter reported today that 25 people stopped in to get information at the library, and they were not necessarily library patrons. They were people who knew he was there, and even though you can do all of that online, there are just some things you cannot beat face-to-face interactions with. And so we're very proud that the library is able to serve as a brick-and-mortar place that kind of service to the borough. We've got our charity fundraiser coming up again, May 2nd. We're soliciting sponsorships. You have materials in front of you. It was a lot of fun last year. It was very much fun making money, and I hope that if you're not able or interested in sponsoring, you'll share it with your friends who might be, and that you'll just come and look at the incredible art that was that will be generated again by the professional and amateur and kids and adult artists in the area. You've probably heard of the Little Free Libraries. That is not an activity of our public library, but there are 15 Little Free Libraries around town. The first 2 were started in 2015 by the Pottstown Rotary Club. 13 others have been up and running now by volunteers in the community. And I just wanted to let everybody know that it is such a, again, read more, read more, read more, read more. Somebody asked me for a map of where those other 13 Little Free Libraries are. I forgot who asked. I've got the map, but if you ask me, please ask again. Kids programs, I gave you materials just as an example. I will not burden you with this every month, but just some examples of the incredible work that the staff does with kids every single day of every single month. It's such a wonderful resource in the community. And then finally, we have security cameras now on the outside and the inside of the library. We are able to foil a cell phone thief with the assistance of the police department, who went and pursued the gentleman after we had the video pulled. And then we're also working on getting a little bit better at saving the information. There's an instruction manual like this, in order to work with the police department as to what may need a little bit more attention on what's going on around the building. That's all.
Very good. Thank you. Ricketts Community Center, Councilor Kirkland.
As reported before by Lydia, the Ricketts is closed for the first couple of weeks of January due to some renovating, painting, replacing ceiling tile, things like that.
Okay.
That's still going on. They are down to the final decision as far as the director. They're about to name a director soon,
Okay.
from what I understand. And they did retain their health and wellness, Paul Winterbottom. So that's good.
Yeah.
So that's a report.
Okay. Have you been in to see any of the renovations?
I'm sorry?
Have you been in to
Haven't
see
been
it?
in there yet.
Haven't
No,
been in
no,
yet?
no.
Okay.
Do you know when they're gonna open?
No, they're not sure yet.
They're not sure, okay.
Most of it seemed to be, is going to be cosmetic.
Yes, cosmetic,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Where, what the door say?
I think the door said the 21st,
20th or 21st?
something like that.
That's what's posted on the door, I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Pottstown School District, Councilor Lindsay.
They probably had a meeting, but I didn't go. I took that month off. Yeah, I just didn't go. So
Okay.
I don't have any report.
You'll go this month.
I will.
Okay.
I told you this month.
All right. How about the mayor's report?
I took that year off too. So 2019.
You didn't do anything this past month, did you?
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Sit back and relax.
I'm just gonna go back to 2019 though, because, I mean, there's not really much to talk about, because it's kind of boring in the borough in 2019,
It was
right?
very
One of the big focuses in 2019 for us was focus on the community center. So we participated in multiple community center meetings and focus groups led by multiple organizations in the borough, Strive, Epic, and neighborhood meetings with the community to learn about what is needed for a community center and what actual residents in our town need in a community center. So that was a big focus for 2019. We had our public meeting, we had an ESI presentation, Pottstown Cares concert. We had bonsai and beer at workshop at the pub, and please forgive me, this is not as organized as I would like it, nor is it a complete picture of everything that occurred in 2019.
Take your time, ma'am.
I
Take your
apologize.
time.
I only have 3 minutes. We had multiple fundraisers for Operation Backpack, Children's Discovery Center, The Cluster, Go Forth, to name a few. Rock painting party, dance your ass off party, clothing drives, toy drives, food drives, whiskey wag dog contest, and Manatawny Steelworks. And they also had a costume contest, so I judged dogs in costume and people in costume this year. We had a climate march, Eco Fest, Sunny Fest, May Day, goat races, powwow, Can Jam, Latin Fest, Oktoberfest, Cheesetoberfest, Pal Food Truck Festival, Halloween Parade, 4th of July Parade, Memorial Day Parade. We had a wonderful pothole presentation by Justin Keller. No, I'm serious, like, don't laugh. I thought it was very informative. Bark for Life. We had multiple community leaders meetings, flag football mega tournament at the Hill School, mural installation at Riverfront Park, beer on tap, Veterans Island cleanups, cleanup days, Edgewood Cemetery cleanups, Rock the Block cleanups. We had a police town hall led by Chief Markovich. I noticed around March last year is when I really started taking notice of the changes that were occurring in the borough. It was the first time that I had couldn't find parking, and it was a wonderful problem to have. We had one of the big concerns. Oh, this is what I missed. Pottstown Community Action meetings. We had multiple. Lisa Vanny and Trinita have joined that group as well, and one of the projects that we worked on last year was the Chestnut Street Park paver project. Do we happen to know what the status is on those smaller bricks?
I think they went back and cut them.
Oh, they did? Okay, great. So that is finished. One of the big concerns for residents in the community was trash and bulk pickup. And we had managed to secure a contract with Mascaro for bulk pickup once a week, which is phenomenal. And we are now on a recycling pilot program, and you can finally recycle those awful grocery bags that we all get. However, I still think that we should tone down the single-use plastics. We can visit that at a later date. We dedicated a bridge on 100 to Newstell Maribel Senior. Terry Letterhouse started Take Back Our Streets page on Facebook, and she's getting people involved in the community. Trellis for Tomorrow had a youth seed enterprise crop share program that provided organic vegetables, which these kids grew themselves on a pay-as-you-will program, and went around the community and provided organic vegetables to our residents. I spoke to them about the ins and outs of canvassing. Mosaic Community Land Trust purchased their first house and demo, and the rebuild is going to be with Habitat, I believe. We had a couple businesses, just a few that opened up. To name a few, Delia and Dean, Honey's Homebrewed, Law's Desserts, Blue Elephant, Jim and Sue's High Street Steaks, Splitting Edge, JJ Radigan's Kiki, I Caramba, High Street Terminal. What's that little restaurant next to it?
Very best.
Very Best, yes. And then, yeah. Flavor? Uptown Flavor, thank you, sorry. We had Urban Land Institute came out, strategic planning sessions, walking school bus. We had walking school bus day, which I participated in, and Trinita does that every week, and I thank you for that. It's a wonderful opportunity. Rupert Elementary third grade field trip came to the borough. I swore in 2 officers. I nearly started a riot on Facebook over Halloween. We had multiple competitions, including the Rotary Performing Arts Scholarship and Carousel of Flavor. We had our children's holiday party, which serviced about 500 kids this year. I did an interview with Philadelphia Magazine that should be coming out in the February issue for some of the local Montgomery County mayors. I somehow joined the 2020 Census Committee for Montgomery County, and you can't say no to the Montgomery County Mayors Association. So, what that means is we really have to work on getting an accurate number for our census. This year, I'm going to most likely recruit some members of council to assist me with this because our funding depends on the accuracy of the numbers on the census.
I applied online, Madam Mayor.
But you get paid for that, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay. Thank you for doing that. We filmed a commercial for Pottstown. I'm sorry, Justin, can you?
Our Town.
Yes.
Yeah, Our Town series for PCN TV. Yeah.
Yes, and
Did it
when
air
does that
already?
air?
That will air in the spring or early summer this year.
Okay.
I don't know, is that it? Oh, and this year I did the polar bear plunge, which was a little muddy this year, I thought.
We'll work on that.
And thanks. Well, no, people have asked me if we can change now the entrance into where we dive, but. So all in all, it was a pretty packed 2019, and I look forward to this next decade and the roaring 20s with the new council and with my Pottstown family. That's it.
Good. What about manager's report?
Well, that was great, but you missed two big ones. We signed a 3-year contract, collective bargaining agreement with our ASME union and a 5-year contract with our police officers union. So those were pretty major accomplishments in my book as well. On the grant front, just a couple updates to give everyone. We did submit the 2 grants that were approved by council for the stormwater arch rehabilitation for a total of $1.5 million in grant requests. We completed the Ricketts Center HVAC and roof replacement as well. That project closed out. And we also closed out the East Apron rehabilitation at the airport recently as well. Just yesterday, 5 parking kiosks were installed along High Street. We're still working on getting pay here signs to be installed as a part of those. You will now, if you do not want to use Park Mobile, you will now be able to drive or walk to any kiosks and park anywhere where paid parking is in effect, whether it's on the street or in the lot, because we are now identifying vehicles by their license plate number, so there's no ticket required or anything like that. We do have a web page, a parking web page that is up right now that should give you all the relative information for parking in the borough, including reduced fare parking permits for the public parking lots number 1 through 6. So that's something new with the parking permits this year to look for. Last night, we had our 6th committee meeting for the Kime Street Zoning Overlay Project. If you recall, this is a long-range project, 10 to 20 years. That's a planning project to revise zoning regulations to accommodate market-driven development and redevelopment. This meeting was to confirm the proposed plan elements, including a mixed-use commercial buildings along Kime Street, along with enhanced streetscape along the frontage of Kime Street between Industrial Highway and the railroad overpass as a Phase 1. Phase 2 calls for mixed-use commercial, industrial, and limited residential along Industrial Highway, just east and west of Kime Street, and also a bike path connecting the Schuylkill River Trail to the neighborhoods to the north, along with the realignment of Kime Street and Industrial Highway with the Kime Street Bridge. So all very long-term things, but we now have the groundwork and the marketing almost in place that we can go out and try to market this to interested developers, corporations, businesses, you name it. As of January 1st, new part routes were in effect, including the new route that goes up to Boyertown. And just this week, we've submitted our highway occupancy plan for the King Street pedestrian crossing. This will allow pedestrians to more safely travel between the visitor destinations of the Carousel, Memorial Park, and the Colbrookdale Railroad. Pending PennDOT approval, construction should hopefully start this summer. And that's all for now.
Thank you. We have conditional offers of employment, bringing back 2 former Pottstown police officers. Mick, did you address this?
Good evening, Council. With the retirement of Officer Ball and Officer Fritz, it'll leave us short 3 police officers downstairs. So I'll be seeking your approval to give conditional offers of employment to 2 former Pottstown police officers.
Okay.
I'll just add, I think it's a great advantage to be able to hire experienced officers that already have a working knowledge of the borough. They're going to be able to jump right into the job pretty much from the onset. And I think it's also a testament to our department and the leadership of our chief and others in the Pottstown Police Department that a former officer, or officers, I should say, would desire to return to Pottstown after working elsewhere.
Good. 11, request for proposals.
Yeah, as you may be aware, operation for the borough's private bus system is managed by a private operator, Part Inc. PennDOT requires transit system using private operators to go out for bid every 5 years. The current contract with Part Inc. is set to expire in July of 2020. Therefore, we're requesting permission from council to allow staff to prepare an RFP for public bid for the next 3 years of operation with two 1-year renewal terms. So that would be a total of 5 years if both of those renewal options are exercised by council. We're doing this so that a contracted operator can be put into place before the current contract expires at the beginning, or at the end of Part's fiscal year, June 30th.
Okay. And we'll list that for action on Monday evening. 12, bid awards for highway materials. We have the packet.
We'll have these tabulated. These are bid awards for traffic, street signs and poles, water pipes and fittings, highway materials such as stone, bituminous, and cold patch. So they were open on the 6th, and we'll have the tabulation for Monday for your consideration. Yep.
All right, we'll deal with that Monday. 13 is board appointments. First is Blighted Property Review Committee. There are 4 1-year terms. Normally, the volunteers there want to be renewed. We have that same condition.
Yeah, there is one member that does not want to be reappointed, so there's one open position.
One open, okay. And for Harb, there's 1 vacant term to expire April 1st of 2024. And Pottstown Borough Authority, there is 1 5-year term open. We have 2 applicants. We'll list those for Monday evening. OD, Zoning Hearing Board, there's 1 3-year term. Mark Patrizzi will include that. Keystone Employment and Economic Plan appointments. Would you review what are the requirements? What do we need?
Yeah, so we need 1 appointment from Borough Council, 1 appointment from the Planning Commission, and then 1 staff appointment.
1 staff.
For which one? The keep. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
1 council and 1 planning.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. We'll deal with that Monday. Harbin and the Planning Commission joint meeting. I'd like to discuss that.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to discuss this with council in an effort to look at ways in which the borough can more efficiently operate and accelerate processes for developers and investors. And at this point, staff is recommending that council look at how Harb and the Planning Commission could form a closer working relationship by facilitating overlapping board membership and or meeting times. Short of combining these two boards, which would not appear to be permissible by the MPC, there are several considerations we would offer for council's consideration. So at a minimum, we could consider holding the HARB meetings on the same night as the Planning Commission meetings. Planning Commission meets on the third Wednesday and HARB on the fourth Tuesday. Also, could be considered is that when members vacate board seats, consider appointing members that are willing to serve on both the HARB board and the Planning Commission board, provided that the professional experience criteria is still withheld or still upheld in the case of the HARB board. And just so you're aware, there will be open seats on HARB in April and planning in February. Some of the benefits that I think we could get from this is that there would be less borough funds spent for staff to attend meetings on separate nights. We'd be able to send one staff member to both of those meetings on the same night. And it would also result in less time spent by board members traveling to and attending these meetings. Second benefit is that it would be easier to find committee members for vacant board positions, since some of the same members could serve on both boards. So, in other words, fewer members could fill more positions. We also would expect better attendance at meetings and less of a need to cancel meetings due to a light agenda. One of the issues that a borough faces as opposed to a township is that boroughs typically see less activity with their planning commission, since there's typically less land development. And sometimes planning commissions can be reluctant to meet if they feel there isn't enough on the agenda. And this ultimately ends up delaying some development projects or even some preliminary conversations with developers that could be helpful to moving their project forward. Fourth, a better understanding of projects that require HARB and planning commission approval would be achieved, and hopefully a faster decision for projects that are seeking approvals from both boards, so both the HARB and the planning board. So if council doesn't oppose this idea, we would be prepared to provide options for combined meeting dates for both boards and have this for council's consideration on Monday night. So I know I kind of covered a lot there, and if there are any questions, please feel free to let me know.
I would ask that you send a memo to all of council.
Sure.
So we can read and review it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Right. You write it, we'll read it, we'll get back to you.
Sounds good.
Zoning variance request for 380 Walnut Street, Kingdom of Life Daycare.
Yeah, these next three items that are listed on your agenda are all applications that have been filed with the Borough Zoning Hearing Board. Primarily, they're listed for council's information, so council knows exactly what proceedings are moving forward at the zoning level. Normally, Borough Council does not participate in these hearings. These hearings are overseen by a separate board that has jurisdiction over the borough zoning ordinance. You appoint those members, but they're the board that has the overall say as whether or not those zoning relief requests are granted or not granted. But historically, we've always brought it to your attention so you were aware of it. Technically, you have three options on any zoning application. One, you can look at the information, you can say okay, and let the zoning hearing board decide. I would say probably in 90% of the cases, that's typically what council would do. You're also permitted, if you see an application and you believe it's something that would benefit the borough, you can support the application and write a letter to the zoning hearing board indicating you as the elected officials support the relief that's being sought. The final option is if you look at something and you think it's maybe not a good thing if the relief is granted, you can write a letter or send someone to oppose the application and actually participate in the hearing if you feel that strongly about it. You have those three options on any zoning application that you see. So the first application that's listed on the agenda this evening is at the property 380 Walnut Street. This is a church property. The church wants to establish a daycare. According to the application, the church previously operated a daycare at this facility. They are seeking variances to the drop-off locations, the requirement of a traffic impact study, and requiring off-street parking. The application is rather detailed. I can't really give you any more information about this, except that at the zoning hearing, the applicant will present evidence to the zoning hearing board to fully explain why they're asking for that relief. Historically, the borough has looked at the ward counselor, whose ward is impacted by this, and kind of followed the lead of the ward counselor, whether or not the ward counselor thinks it should just go to the zoning hearing board without comment, whether it should be opposed, or whether it should be supported. So that's the first application that's on the agenda tonight on Walnut Street.
In this case, it's, I'm the first ward counselor, and I don't think the notification letters have been received yet. I think they were mailed just a couple of days ago, so they should be shortly. But after discussing with my neighbors, actually, they're fairly receptive to it, and everybody likes Justin, but I think he's short about 13 spaces, which is considerable, so I plan just to let it, zoning can deal with it.
Okay, the hearing is scheduled for January 30th, so you're probably right, Ryan. The notices in mail didn't get out yet, so, but they'll be on the way.
Okay.
The second item that's before the zoning hearing board is a variance and special exception request regarding property at 31 East Fifth Street. The applicant is requesting a special exception to establish a bed and breakfast in that facility. In that zoning district, a bed and breakfast is permitted by special exception, so it's a use that's contemplated. However, in addition to the special exception, it appears that they're not able to meet all of the other criteria in the ordinance, and therefore they're asking for some variances from the provisions of the ordinance, in that according to the application, the bed and breakfast will not be owner-occupied, would not necessarily provide meals, and would have more than 6 guests per a 24-hour period. There's also a request for a variance from the required 3 off-street parking spaces. So again, I believe that's the third ward?
Yeah.
And so that hearing has been scheduled for January 21st, 2020.
Okay.
Personally, I don't feel comfortable with that right now. I have a couple of residents that I'll be talking to about it. They have questions as well, so I'd like to have, I'd like to attend the zoning meeting on that first, but I guess leaving it up to codes or zoning as it is for now, I'll say, to leave it go through.
All right,
Well, it's a
Take
little
this further
concerning
on
to me that
Monday.
it's not owner occupied.
Yeah, well, that's part of
And
the question.
I would.
A bed and
hope that-
breakfast that doesn't serve food?
I would hope that you
Kinda
would
makes
try to make sure, like, and I don't know how you would do this, but ensure that this is not a way around them just.
Did you see the floor plan?
They haven't showed me anything.
It's in your packet. Yeah, but
Oh,
it's,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
it's
No, I
Every
haven't.
square inch is filled with bedrooms.
Oh, is it?
Pretty much, but I don't know. That's not what we're.
I'm more concerned about parking, because they're saying up to 6 people in 24 hours, so you're looking between 2 to 6 cars. And where that's located, they can park anywhere. That's not fair to the residents.
One of the inherent problems when the council reviews these applications is you don't have the benefit of having the testimony and a hearing in front of you. You're just looking at a piece of paper and looking at what's being requested. So I certainly understand why you would have questions. I understand why you might have concerns, but you're, again, not the zoning hearing board. You certainly can ask Justin if you would like the applicant to come on Monday night. They don't have to appear in front of you, but if you have questions, we can always make that invitation so they could explain more what they want to do to you informally prior to the zoning hearing. Can't guarantee they'll be here, But if you're concerned or want to ask questions, we can at least extend the invitation or the request to appear.
Well, the notifications have gone out, and like I said, I've gotten some feedback from some of the residents already. So I'll get a consensus and take that to the zoning board.
I certainly think that the neighborhood, when they get notice, if they're concerned, they will appear at the hearing. And I think you guys know that the residents are able to participate in those hearings. They can ask questions, they can testify, they can voice concerns, comments to the zoning hearing board as part of the hearing process, which then the zoning hearing board will take into account when they deliberate and render the decision on the relief that's requested. So the main entity in this is the zoning hearing board, but you have every right to be aware of it and participate if you want.
Okay. Right, we'll address that Monday.
Okay, the last zoning request is that of McDonald's, which is on Shoemaker Road. If council's not aware, McDonald's has submitted a land development plan. The land development plan is basically to demolish the existing restaurant up there and build a new prototype restaurant. This is in McDonald's plans everywhere. They're doing this other locations, not just the borough. So obviously, since they're building a new restaurant, you can imagine that not necessarily all of the dimensional requirements will line up under our ordinance versus the property. So they're asking for some dimensional relief to allow the restaurant to be built in the area of floor area ratio and some other more, I'll say, technical issues that the ordinance requires. They have so far have been very, very cooperative with the Planning Commission, and they're moving ahead. So I don't know if anyone has concerns about a redeveloped McDonald's in that area, but certainly the zoning hearing board will listen to their request and decide if they think they should be granted relief.
Okay, if no questions, we'll deal with these three on Monday evening. Number 18 is the Pottstown Bike Race. We just heard about that earlier. It's listed as June 7.
But it's June
It's
6th.
June 6.
From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The course will be the same as last year.
You seem to like that.
Yes, it was very well received.
Not just the participants, but the viewers liked it down there. All right. And we need to consider the dates that we shall meet in 2020. You have those? Yeah. I mean, they were sent out. I didn't know if you had them here. Okay, yeah. They have been sent out to you. You can call them up and look at them. And one way or another, we'll approve the dates for 2020 on Monday evening. It is time for comments from the citizens that are present. Have any?
Ron Williams, please.
You have your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to take a moment and thank the men and women of the Pottstown Police Association for the 2 benches that they donated to be placed at the Native American Memorial on Franklin Industrial Highway. When I came to the committee of the whole meeting in October to seek your assistance in obtaining the bench for the site, I had only expected some guidance or suggestions, but at the end of the meeting, Detective Officer Heather Long approached me and indicated that she would take this matter up with the Police Officers Association. The association approved to have the benches built and installed at the burial site, and on a perfectly clear and relatively warm day during the week before Christmas, Detective Long and the members of the Police Association met me at the memorial, where we set the benches in place. Mostly I watched, supervised. I cannot emphasize the enormous sense of gratitude that I have for this gift to the Pottstown community. The historic significance of this site is important in that it makes a statement that cannot be told without understanding that the history of these lands we now occupy precedes written history by thousands of years, and this site is but a small reminder of that history. In giving their support and generosity, I feel that this gift to the community
by our police officers underlines one of the values expressed in the department's mission statement. Under environment, they state that we are aware of the importance of our natural, historic, social, and economic resources, and will strive to preserve their sustainability for future generations. Thank you to the police department. And thank you, council,
Thank
for
you.
supporting this.
Next.
All right, John Daywall, please.
I just want to thank the board members and the mayor. We had a beautiful 2019, and you guys did a magnificent job on High Street with everything going on during the weekends and stuff like that. So I mean, you're really bringing everybody back out onto High Street, and I didn't see much of a problem, anything with like the car shows and stuff like that. I think it was a fantastic year, and hopefully 2020 will be even better than that, and getting the very best opened again in most of the restaurants and looking good. So if everything else cleans up, I think 2020 will be great. So I just want to thank you for working hard and a lot of late nights. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That it?
That's it.
All right, let me see, how about councilors' general discussion? Councilor Kirkland, anything?
Nothing.
Councilor Paulus? Nothing. Councilor Lindsay?
So everything that the mayor said in her report, yeah, that happened in 2019. I don't have really much to say. Tomorrow, I'm trying to find a ticket. Forgive me. Tomorrow is a holiday party for NAACP at the Avenue. And you can go there, $15 for adults and $10 for kids. I mean, you can go and say you're a child and pay $10. I'm sure they'll let you go by. But yeah, so if you want to go down there and do that, I guess that's it. Everything the mayor said, the holiday party was fabulous for the kids. So I want to send a special shout out to Jim and Chuck and whoever, or NAACP, and whoever participated in making that a success. It was wonderful. And if I forgot your name, please do not blame my heart, blame my mind. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Proskal?
Last month at the Sunnybrook Ballroom, I saw some really impressive presentations from a few Penn State architectural students for Pottstown Children's Discovery Center. So we got, that's really, really neat.
When was that? When was that?
When? I think it was around mid-December.
Yeah,
mid-December in there. And we have a lot of really neat things for adults in Pottstown, but it'd be really nice to have something for kids, a little more for kids as well.
Okay. Councilor Vanny?
I agree with everything the mayor said as well. I think the polar bear plunge was awesome and really well put on. It was the first time I've done it. I will do it next year. I have to second the mud issue was a little tricky, but other than that, it was wonderful. And also tomorrow there is the community meal, the kids that cooked with the cops, that I will be attending tomorrow evening. I'm looking forward to that.
Very
And
good.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Okay. Vice President Lebedinsky?
I think you guys have covered it all.
Okay. Mayor?
So I realize that I missed a ton of stuff that happened in 2019, and I'm not going to, if I sat here and went through everything that we accomplished in 2019, we would be here probably till 2021, yes. So please, as I'm going to, as Trinita said, don't blame my heart, blame my mind. But I do have to mention, because otherwise they'll kill me, the alley opened, I forgot that. We had Fête en Blanc, Pottstown Bike Race, and then all of December.
I know, I'm just saying.
All of December was just, did I say something wrong?
No, you did, I forgot.
All of
Alley.
December was just one big event. So if you want to learn about what we did in December, just watch last month's
Don't forget
report.
Santa came here.
Santa
on a
came on a dragon boat. And Evan did an awesome job of sticking his camera in my face on Facebook Live.
Oh,
so.
and I got happy birthday sent to me.
Yes, we celebrated Trinita's birthday in the
It was
borough.
a nice party. Thank you, Pottstown. I appreciate you.
With car shows, I mean, it's just really been a phenomenal year.
It
And I
was
just
a
want to say,
busy 2019.
yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone up here and all our residents and everyone in the borough that makes all of this happen. It's a lot that goes into all these events, and I think a lot of residents don't realize how much work it is to just put on a bike race. And we also raced more things than bikes, goats, and I think pretty much everything other than pigs this year. So if I forgot you, I'm sorry. Thank you for being in Pottstown and supporting our community. That's it.
Gee, if we all work together, 2020 can be even better. Wouldn't that be nice? I do want to take the opportunity, and it's just a little thing I want to do. I want to quote Barbara Walters and say, "This is 2020." And we'll make the best out of that. I have nothing to add as far as discussion, but I do want to announce we are having an executive session. We'll be dealing with personnel and litigation. No action, and will not be returning. Meeting adjourned.